So, a couple things I want to mention real quick. I talked about how you could say that the champions split into two groups, but honestly, it actually feels a little bit more like if you prefer it this way as well, that all the champions went to the Halls of Stone first with Braun. We found out the stuff about the Tribunal. By the way, I forgot to point out that at that forge, that you could see like rows underneath of like a whole bunch of earthen or, just like iron dwarves, such that had been made but were not online yet. They were just kind of like there waiting to be activated, just to showcase like how much the Forge had been making them. But what matters here now is that after the Halls of Stone, the champions then make their way over here to the Halls of Lightning, because that's where we find Loken is. Now, what's important also to be mindful of is that while we go over here to the Halls of Lightning to deal with Loken, Bran grabs a group of dwarves and the Explorers League and such and heads into Ulduar without us. And that's important to keep in mind for what happens later on, because, well, if you have seen my video about Ulduar, you know that basically as we're going through the Halls of Lightning, that's when Bran tries to get into Ulduar, encounters many of the issues of getting into Ulduar, which then leads to the trailer about Ulduar, and yeah. But anyways, yeah. After the Halls of Stone, while Bran heads into Ulduar without us, we go into the Halls of Lightning because, as we learned, we need to deal with Loken. After everything that Loken has been involved in and dealt with, we have to deal with Loken. Loken has been responsible for a lot of things, and it's time for him to finally be dealt with. So yeah, I swapped to one of my other characters because that character had already done the quests in here, and I wanted to showcase the quests. So I've swapped to my Mag'har Orc Warrior here, who is now finally using the Tusks of Manaroth that I finally got during Remix. I'm so happy to finally have these. And of course, Rockin' Gorehowl. This is the more up-to-date one that you can get in Dragonflight in the Mega Dungeon from Gramash, believe it or not. And this, of course, is one of the Storm Giants that, well, yeah. I shall speak plainly to you, little orc. My people have not been the same since our ties with Thorim were severed. Vulcan will not rest until he or we are no more. We only want peace, but it seems we have no choice but war. Loken's forces prepare for war, when what they are not ready for is to be attacked themselves. Now is the moment to strike. Take out General Bjarn Grimm and his army, lest they mount an offensive on all life on Azeroth. One way or another, Loken shall fall. The honor and glory of his defeat shall be yours. Return to me with his lying tongue, and earn my unending gratitude. So I didn't show you the rows of them before. I can actually show you them now, because, believe it or not, they're also in here as well. Why am I all of a sudden getting... Oh, World MS apparently is getting weird. But look down there. You see the rows of inactive... Yeah, Iron Dwarves, or like Earthen and all of them, yeah. Just, that's an example of what was being at the Forge, where it was like making a whole bunch of them and just kind of leaving them here to be activated at some point. Just to add to some of the visual, horrifying implications of, well, I say that because of what we're also going to be seeing up ahead when we get to Vulcan, but we'll get there.
I need to target something first. I am out of range.
So this first boss is a little amusing. He's a bit of a nasty fight. But what's funny about him is that the voice actor... I'm not sure what direction they gave him, but he must have been like, I have to sound like I am just like... Because he's got some great voice voice lines, but it's rather funny because he sounds like he's like almost like he's just like letting the spit just fly from his mouth as he talks. You'll hear it in a second when I pull him here. This is General Bjarngrim. The iron forces of Loken are legion, and their general Bjarngrim stands above them all. As the vanguard of Loken's halls of lightning, the Iron Commander ensures that any who trespass in his master's domain are terminated with extreme prejudice. You can see he has this thing where, electrically charged, he increases the size and damage done of himself and his enemies by 30%, and this spam is still going on.
I am the greatest of my father's sons! Your end is come!
I am the greatest of my father's sons! Give me a word, your end is come!
Is not stronger.
Flash is not stronger. See what I mean? And I'm just like, okay. When they were doing that, was there a point where they were like, okay, can you hold off on the spit, Bob? Can you? I don't know if he was actually named Bob or not, but like, I'm really curious if they wanted him to shout into like his lines like that with the spit and everything, or if they were just like, yeah, whatever, he's not listening. I forgot to talk about his fight. So basically, he has various different stances. It has a lot of the stuff the warriors have, so he can be a bit of a nasty fight. Now, this has some implications. So, first of all, you see all these slags, all these, like, elementals here. Which, you know, when they get destroyed, they put this debuff on you, which reduces your movement speed, blast wave. So, going through this room is, well, not fun. Especially when you have a tank that just kind of runs past everything and doesn't attack, and then it's just like, they all attack us, and, well... Let's just say I prefer actually killing things to make our way through as opposed to running past all of them. But that's just me. Jeez. I am getting some... Oh my gosh, the server lag I'm getting right now. Holy mackerel. Now, I want to draw your attention to something here. This is a pile of corpses and body parts. I mean, yes, they are earthen and iron dwarves and such, but still. This is a very dark and horrifying visual. Because keep in mind, they weren't, like, deactivated and then done like this. They were done to like this as they were active because they were looked upon as, well, failures. So you just can't help but wonder, like, okay, how long did they have to be like this where they were, like, disassembled and left here in parts? You know. Oh my gosh, the lag. So this is Vulcan. Loken's powerful legions are a testament to the craftsmanship of his blacksmith, Vulcan. His work is never-ending, ceaselessly creating soldiers to fight for the fallen keeper. Only when the blacksmith's creations stand atop the crumbled bodies of their enemies will his work be done.
You have destroyed my children? You shall pay! Nothing is wasted in the process. You will see.
So yeah, he summons molten golems to fight us, which are disintegrating as they fight us. So, yeah.
The Master was right to be concerned.
No kidding. I like how you can see windows of the storm peaks outside as you go through. So this hall is interesting for a couple reasons. One, this is the Hall of the Watchers, and we see statues here of some of the various races of Azeroth, like humans, Tauren, elves, night elves, trolls. And as you move through this hallway, these things start activating. Now, only 2 or 3 of them will activate once you get to a certain point. Usually you want to go ahead and just kind of like take care of them little by little, but if you're just moving through the whole time, just keep on activating them, it can get a little overwhelming depending on your group.
Too far away. I need to target something first.
So now we've got cyclones. Again, just to show it over here. I love that you can go out here and just kind of like be like, oh, hey, look, it's Storm Peaks and Ulduar, and yep. Even though we're in the dungeon, you can look out there. It's pretty cool. I always like it when they give that that kind of like perspective of you can be able to look outside even while you're in the instance. But yeah, basically statues of these different races in Azeroth.
I am out of range.
So this is Ionar. Loken does not rely on his iron minions as his personal defenders. The Fallen Keeper relies upon lightning itself. Ionar and its cohorts were given sanctuary within the halls of lightning in exchange for their unquestioning loyalty and willingness to slaughter any who seek to confront their new master. So I'm going to end up one-shotting this guy, so...
You wish to confront the Master. You must first weather the storm.
I don't like the voice, mainly because it sounds like there's a whole bunch of static behind it. Which I get the point, static overload, I get the point, but still, it's not pleasant to hear. So, the main thing when it comes to this fight, yes, there's ball, lightning, and disperse, and static overload, but the main thing is disperse, which is that when they reach 50% health, they disperse into sparks of Ionar, which are immune, and will pursue players for 15 seconds. And then they will reassemble back into the boss. And, like I said, you can't damage these sparks when it happens. So you're basically just having to run away from them as it happens, until they reassemble back into the boss. This next room. This room.
I must get closer.
I should also point out about how this room is like, you know, you probably have noticed this kind of room before. Where, of course, the Titans would be having their keepers look over some of the other planets and such that are in the galaxy and, like, overseeing, like, alright, we gotta keep our eye on these to make sure that they stay in order. I can't tell you how many times groups will try to go back here and try to avoid some of this trash, and will just always constantly pull them. It can become quite a nuisance. Also, do I have... Where is, Do I not have Whirlwind by default? As an arms warrior? Huh. How odd. But then again, I guess there really are just... Now, here's the thing. Now, hold on. Am I just blind, not seeing where Whirlwind is actually supposed to be? I'm sure this is not the right build for Arms Wars. I don't really care. This is just an alt. This is not a Arms War I plan to take into high content or anything to actually run the best optimal build. Sometimes you just run a build that you just kind of want to do or just have fun with. But I'm just surprised that it's just like, oh, they took Whirlwind away from Arms War, unless I'm just simply not seeing it at the moment. Like, did I just not grab it when I could have? Is that what happened? Because I'm not seeing it here. Oh well. I prefer Whirlwind on Fury anyway. So before we pull Loken here, because there he is, and he's going to have a speech, which I'm going to go ahead and turn the music off just so you can hear it. But before I draw attention to his speech, I want to show you guys something. Look at this. You see that? That's Azeroth. This was one of those first confirmations to players that Azeroth was in fact a globe, like Earth. That it actually was a global planet. And you can see, like, there's the Maelstrom. There's Kalimdor. Now, of course, it doesn't show everything up to date like we have when it comes to the more current version of the map. This was basically the map that we had at the time that Wrath was out. And then, of course, now we have the Eastern Kingdoms. And you can also see the two different moons, although it's kind of doing this repeating thing with the moons, but yeah. So there's the Eastern Kingdoms, there's the Maelstrom, there's Northrend, and there's Kalimdor. Again, obviously this map is not quite accurate, considering the more current version of the map we have, but there you go.
Too far away!
Now, I also want to draw your attention to this beam. You see this beam here? This beam of light connecting his seat over here to this globe here. I want you to remember this, because it's going to play a very important role in just a moment. And I want you also to take a moment to look at this and be like, oh, it looks nice, you know? It's a really cool little global thing. You even see it's got a little skylight up into the sky, heading into, you know, just like you can look up and be like, oh, hey, there's the sky, right? Remember that in just a moment.
I have witnessed the rise and fall of empires, the birth and extinction of entire species. Over countless millennia, the foolishness of mortals has remained the only constant. Your presence here confirms this. My master has shown me the future, and you have no place in it. Azeroth will be reborn in darkness. Yogg-Saron shall be released. The Pantheon shall fall.
So I just want to remind you guys that, well, let's read his thing first. The Prime Designate of Azeroth was tasked to keep Yogg-Saron secure within its prison. None could have foreseen that the Keeper entrusted to safeguard the world from the old god's malevolence would be the one responsible for its undoing. Now, you're probably going, what does that mean? Well, you'll find out in a moment, but I just want to remind you guys about a couple of things before we have this encounter with him. Loken is considered the designate, but it's also worth noting that he's not necessarily the top keeper. If we were to talk about, say, the highest ranked keepers, there's probably three big ones. Loken, Odin, and Ra-Den. Now, Odin is stuck in the halls of Valor right now, and we wouldn't see him until Legion. So he can't exactly come here and do anything about Loken. And Ra-Den, well, he of course has also been currently chained up under the Throne of Thunder for a long time. Here's one of the important differences, though. Ra-Den had access to information that Loken does not. even though Loken is supposed to be the designate, he doesn't have access to information that Ra-Den does. This is the reason that we know this is because Loken doesn't know about what happened to the Titans. You notice that? He said, "The Pantheon shall fall." They've already fallen, and he doesn't even know it. But Ra-Den did, because Ra-Den had access to that information. Now, whether or not Odin has access into that information, I'm not entirely sure, because the thing is, Odin is the kind of keeper where he doesn't really care. Because he's Odin. He's a little self-absorbed into his own thing, where even if he knew, would he really care at that point? But Ra-Den did. In fact, Loken was preparing for Ra-Den to show up here at some point, and he never did, and he didn't know why. Because Loken didn't know about what happened to the Titans. So, the thing is, though, Loken was also kind of entrusted that if something were to ever, well, his goal here is basically to try and get us to lose. Because he's fully anticipating that we're going to kill him. In fact, here's the thing. That's actually his goal. And you're about to find out why. Loken either believes that Yogg-Saron will be able to break out and let him and the old gods reign supreme, or we kill Loken, which is going to lead to what happens in Ulduar.
What hope is there for you? None.
So Loken doesn't have that many mechanics when it comes to his fight. You'll notice he has this thing called Pulsing Shockwave Aura, which increases the amount of nature damage that we take by 25%. And damage taken is increased the greater the distance we are from Loken.
Cannot hold out for long.
So if you're a range player, you take even more damage from him. And then he'll do these different things where he's shocking players every 2 seconds, inflicting nature damage.
Your flesh cannot hold out for long.
While also doing things like Lightning Nova, where he puts out a pulse of nature damage within 20 yards. And he'll also do Arc Lightning, which shocks a player, instantly inflicting nature damage and causing them to shock nearby allies. So yeah, you're basically constantly taking nature damage from him throughout the fight, and if you're farther away, you'll take even more. So, not that many mechanics, but you basically had to make sure that you were ready to deal with a lot of this in order to deal with him.
From fate.
So, this is what happens when we kill him.
The end of this world.
So you saw that beam that went across here? It hit the globe, and now notice that Azeroth is on fire. Also, there's this beam being launched up into the sky in space. Loken knew, and that's why he said, "My death heralds the end of this world," that once we killed him, that signal would be automatically sent to Algalon, letting them know the designate on Azeroth has fallen. We now need to see if this planet needs to be re-originated. As in, destroy everything and everyone on the planet and start over from scratch. Which is what Sargeras wanted to do anyway, but... yeah. Vulcan shall haunt the dreams of my people no more. Continue your efforts, little orc. In time, I am certain that my people will grow to forgive Thorim. Yeah, we just have to go save him in Ulduar. Though few outside of us shall ever know it, you have certainly saved the world on this day. By the way, when we looted him, we got Loken's tongue, which is gross. Wicked thoughts race through your mind as you focus on the writhing tongue. Yes, after we take his tongue out, it's still moving. It's disgusting. That vile worm is dead. You have turned out to be a great boon to my people, little orc. Please accept this gift in return for your loyal friendship. And you get a decent amount of rep with the Sons of Hodir for doing this. So yeah, his death triggers the signal to be sent to the Titans, letting them know that the Keeper Designate has fallen. We now need to send Algalon to see if the planet needs to be re-originated. Which, of course, is now going to lead us into the events of Ulduar, where we, of course, find out that, we see the trailer where Braun failed to go into Ulduar, and we now have to make our way into Ulduar to actually stop Algalon. So now our objectives become twofold after dealing with this. We have to go stop Yogg-Saron, and we have to stop Algalon. So, yeah. So now here's the thing, guys. There are a few dungeons remaining when it comes to Wrath. Here's the thing, though. I've already done videos on these dungeons. The Forge of Souls, the Pit of Saren, and the Halls of Reflection. I actually did a video specifically on these 3 dungeons altogether as one, because they all flow one into the other. And I specifically did them on the Alliance, because I much rather prefer the Alliance version, because you're going through with Jaina, as opposed to on the Horde when you go through with Sylvanas. And it just makes the encounter with Uther in the Halls of Reflection, half the soul of Uther in the Halls of Reflection, awkward with Sylvanas compared to Jaina, which makes a whole lot of sense. So if you're watching this on the playlist, I'm just going to simply put that video in the next in the playlist, and you can see that to cover where I cover those 3 dungeons. So that means that next we will be heading into the Cataclysm. Now, it's worth also noting, some of these I've already done videos on, like the Dead Mines, Zulaman, Zul'Gurub, Shadowfang Keep. I've also done a video on the Wells of Eternity, but I'll do it again because I was specifically showing the dialogue with the Warglaives of Azeroth. Plus, like the 3 dungeons I just mentioned, this is part of a trio where it's End Time, Wells of Eternity, and then the Hour of Twilight. Now, there's also a few other dungeons here I have some things to share about, like when I talk about Blackrock Caverns, Grim Batol, the Stone Core. There's some interesting backstory with these dungeons, especially when Cataclysm was in beta. I actually found this out from a couple of people, Preach Gaming as well as Total Biscuit, when he was doing videos on this back when it was in beta. So I'll try and share some of that stuff. Also, I need to find out what's going on with the Trail Under the Tides, considering, well, let's just say this dungeon changed a bit when they made it into a time-walking dungeon. But we'll see how that goes when we get there, and when we head into the Cataclysm. Stay tuned.